With Donald Trump's Gaza Peace Deal, everyone has been calling this the beginning of Daniel 9 prophecy. Is this the agreement between Israel and the prince? What does this mean for Israel? Many people are sure that Gaza Peace Plan is the fulfillment of the prophecy from the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 27. However, I would like to look at perhaps overlooked agreement between Israel and Arab countries, Abraham Accords, that has been signed in 2020. I would like to show you that Abraham Accords are in fact the fulfillment of this prophecy, and we have been further into this prophecy than many people realize. Let's first look at the actual scripture about this prophecy. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with the flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week. But in the middle of the week, he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation, which is determined, is poured out on the desolate. Daniel 9 verse 26 to 27. First, we would need to identify who is the prince. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The prince would be a ruler, which can be called a prince or a king, like we see in Daniel 8. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy fearfully, and shall prosper and thrive. He shall destroy the mighty, and also the holy people. Through his cunning, he shall cause the seed to prosper under his rule, and he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without human means. Daniel 8, verse 23 to 25. From this description, we can see that in the end times there will be a kingdom or a strong country, and a king will arise who understands sinister schemes. This king in current times would be either president, prime minister, or someone high up in the political arena. This ruler will be a great liar and deceiver. He will understand sinister schemes, he will know what to say to sound believable, and he will destroy the mighty and also the holy people. Holy people are not religious people, but people under the covenant with God. He will rise against Prince of Princes, which we know is Jesus, and he shall eventually be broken by divine intervention. Someone very unpredictable and borderline crazy. Currently, we have few men of power on the political arena that could fit this description. However, no one does it so well as Donald Trump. Many people exclude Trump from being considered as this evil king because Trump fights for Israel, so he couldn't destroy holy people. However, remember that only God knows who really is under the covenant with him, so we can't assume based on what is happening outwardly. Trump also prayed publicly. He talks about Jesus. He wanted to put Bibles back into school. However, this is why Donald Trump is perfect. He can deceive many. Just because you say something doesn't mean you think that in your heart. Only God knows his heart, and what we can do only is to look at Donald Trump's fruits, and he has many negative fruits. Trump's past is quite a journey, from being involved in Epstein files scandal, being friends with Epstein, getting to his power through threatening to sue other people, and making questionable deals based on corruption and greed. Trump was part of many lawsuits, and back in 2016 there was a surprising list of all the lawsuits that Trump was involved with that was put together by USA Today. It covered just over the 30 years prior to Trump becoming president. From there, we find out that Trump was involved in over 4,000 lawsuits based on public available documentation. Among those lawsuits, there were 85 involving branding and trademark cases, 17 campaign cases, 1,863 casino cases, 208 contract dispute cases, 130 employment cases, 63 golf club cases, 190 government and taxes cases, 14 media or defamation cases, 206 other cases that could not be classified specifically, 697 personal injury cases, and 622 real estate cases. Out of those cases, 4,095 lawsuits, Trump was the plaintiff in 2,166 of them, and defendant in 1,929. Those numbers, of course, do not count the hundreds and hundreds of other times where Trump threatened to sue other people but did not follow through. These are the fruits that we were supposed to check, not words but actions. Trump speaks of himself very highly and boastfully. If we establish that Trump is the one from Daniel 8, then we can examine the rest of the scripture with Trump in mind. And the people of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Therefore, Donald Trump's administration shall destroy the city of Jerusalem and the sanctuary. The end of it shall be with a flood. Where else we can see this flood? In the book of Revelations, chapter 12. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away by the flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon has spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring, who kept the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Revelation 12, verse 15 to 17. The woman from the book of Revelation 12 is Israel. So this king will be filled with the spirit of the serpent and will cause the end of Jerusalem by the flood, not necessarily of water, of course. Until the end of the war, desolations are determined. Desolation is determined, written and unchangeable. Then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. Daniel 9, verse 27. In this context, a week is translated as 7 years. Therefore, during those 7 years, many desolations will happen, wars, destruction. But in the middle of the week, so around 3.5 years, he shall bring end to sacrifice and offering. Many people mistake this sacrifice as animal sacrifice and offering. Not necessarily. Offering to God can be in form of a prayer, fasting. We can offer our bodies as a living sacrifice, a broken spirit. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. These, O God, you will not despise. Psalm 51, verse 17. The end to the sacrifice and offering in this context is pouring yourself out to God. This will be stopped in the middle of the agreement. Where does the Abraham Accords come into this? Abraham Accords are a series of agreements to normalize relations between Israel and several Arab countries. The name of the Accords was given in reference to the supposed common ancestor of Jews and the Arabs, the biblical Abraham, and as of an expression of brotherhood. The Accords, all of which were signed in the latter half of 2020, consist of a general declaration alongside bilateral agreement between Israel and Arab countries, Bahrain and Monaco. Sudan also signed the general declaration in 2021, but ongoing instability with Sudan has delayed its ability to formalize a bilateral agreement with Israel. Efforts have been underway since the initial signing of the Abraham Accords to normalize relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia. But the Israel-Hamas war that began in 2023 led Saudi Arabia to insist on first creating a viable path to an independent Palestinian state. Talks began in 2025 to Syria to join the Abraham Accords after Ahmed al-Sharaa and his forces toppled regime of Bashar al-Assad in December 2024. Source Britannica. I would like you to notice 2 things. Trump facilitated the agreement under his first term as a president in 2020. The agreements were a major diplomatic achievement of his first term and have led to significant cooperation in the region, though they have been criticized for sidelining the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That agreement was signed in 2020, then in October 2023, which would be around 3.5 years from signing Abraham Accord agreement. The war between Israel and Palestine started, which would align to the scripture in Daniel 9:27. But in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. And on the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate. Wing or overspreading of abominations, which would be spreading of sacrilegious, idolatrous acts. This does not necessarily mean that this has to happen in a temple. Just as Jesus was the temple, in this case it is also not a physical building. This idolatry act will lead to desolation of the holy place. This can be referred to the Holy Land and desolation and total destruction of the land where God dwells, Israel. Even until the consummation, which is determined, is poured out on the desolate. The word consummation refers to the completion of something, most commonly the first intercourse after a marriage. It also describes the act of making something perfect or bringing it to its final fulfillment, such as life's work or a contract. This means that destruction and desolation will bring to its final fulfillment, which is determined, written, and unchangeable. This is God's will, and this will be poured out on the desolate, which is the Israel land. That is why the peace agreement between Hamas and Israel is a false peace. However, it is not the start of the 7-year agreement. Israel will be deceived by this cunning king, thinking that he is on her side, but desolation is determined. We can only observe that what will happen closer to the year of 2027, which would bring fulfillment to the 7-year agreement, or as it's in the scripture, covenant with many for 1 week. Also, it is important to add that Gaza Peace Deal is only between Israel and Hamas, not with many, whereas Abraham Accords are with many Arab countries. As it was in the case of Jesus, many overlooked Jesus fulfilling some prophecies. Many who knew scripture, who studied scripture every day, couldn't recognize what was in front of their eyes. However, the problem is people have specific and unchangeable expectations, how those prophecies should look like and how they should be fulfilled. And if it's not according to their expectations, then they reject what is in front of their eyes. But from the Bible we know those prophecies will not come with a bang. They will not be advertised. They will not be loud. Something that is quiet and overlooked in the back, this is where you should look. Satan will make sure people are confused where exactly they are in the timeline of prophecies. Not to mention that in America, many people believe in pre-tribulation rapture, and therefore they can't even comprehend the fact that they might be in the times of tribulation now, and that they overlooked Daniel's prophecy. Remember, the truth is not advertised, and a lie is loud. Don't follow what is mainstream.